G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Mike Smith from Xero Co. He's based in Byron Bay, Australia, just northeast of Sydney, I guess, isn't it? A couple hours drive? 4 hours.
Kind of halfway between Sydney and Brisbane for any international listeners.
Well, and a lot of celebrities that have based themselves there in the last few years too.
Yep, it's become a bit of a haven for the celebrities.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard it's done terrible things with the real estate prices, though, even before the COVID impact.
It's pretty wild up here. It's pretty hard to buy a house.
It's a beautiful part of Australia, though.
It is. It is a lovely part of the world.
Let's start with how we know each other. So I reached out to you on LinkedIn to see if you'd be interested in coming in, because late last year I came across your brand because I do monitor crowdfunding, and you had a very fast, I think it's still the largest crowdfund raise in Australia, 6 million. And I loved the brand and the media, all the campaigns you did was, fun and energetic and vibrant.
Yeah, fastest and largest in Australian history, which is pretty crazy to think we pulled that off a couple of months ago.
How many days was it open for before it was fully subscribed?
One. 6 hours to be precise. It was all done.
That's amazing. Well done.
It was incredible. It was really incredible.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Yeah. Okay. So we're on a mission to solve the global single-use plastic problem. To do that, we've got to do two things. We've got to stop single-use plastic being made in the first place and work out how do we get all of the plastic that's made its way into our oceans and rivers out of there. So that's what Xero Co set out to do 18 months ago. We deliver on that mission by making a range of personal care and home cleaning products. So things that you use every day in your house, laundry liquid, hand wash, body wash, shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, all of those things that you typically buy at the supermarket that come in single-use plastic bottles. You normally buy them, use them for a couple of weeks and throw them away. So what we've done is we've replaced that one-way single-use plastic supply chain with a closed-loop supply chain. So first of all, we're going to do ocean cleanups. We've pulled about 1 million water bottles worth of rubbish out of the ocean.
Wow.
We take that plastic, we process it, and we turn it into what we call a forever bottle. So you keep your forever bottle at your house and refill it over and over and over and over again with a returnable, reusable pouch. So we send you out a pouch and a forever bottle. You empty the pouch into the bottle. You send the pouch back to us. We then clean and sanitize the pouch, fill it up, send it back out to another customer. So the forever bottle deals with part one of the mission, funding ocean cleanups. The refill pouch deals with part two of the mission, which is stopping single-use plastic.
Yep, fantastic. And how did you start out?
So we got things started with a Kickstarter campaign, actually, about 2.5 years ago now. The foundation story before that is I had a previous business, a wine brand called Cake Wines, which I sold in 2017. Packed up my bags and went on a big, crazy around the world trip. Went to some super crazy remote places with my now wife, Alyssa. And we were just blown away by the amount of plastic that we saw in some very, very remote parts of the world. And it had a pretty profound effect on me, I have to say. I don't consider myself an eco warrior. I wasn't before that experience. I'm not today. But when you go and see, proper remote parts of the world, get out into nature, get out into wilderness, and you see plastic and just rubbish in general everywhere, it's pretty heartbreaking. So I came back to Australia in 2019 and said, as woefully unqualified as I am, I'm going to have a crack at trying to solve this problem. And I came back with the insight that we've got to do two things. We've got to stop single-use plastic getting made, and we've got to do ocean cleanups. So I said, I'm going to build a business that does those two things. Fast forward 6 months after getting back to Australia, I started spending an uncomfortable amount of time in the supermarket watching people shopping, following them around.
How many restraining orders did you get?
Being a total creep, pulling things aside in the shelf and sticking my head through and looking at what people were buying. And I just found myself spending more and more time, in the last couple of aisles of the supermarket, which is where the personal care and home cleaning products are. It's wall to wall, floor to ceiling, single use plastic in those last couple of aisles. And I just said, righto, This is a massive category. It's about 1 billion single-use plastic bottles a year get used just in Australia in those last couple of aisles. And so I said, this is a ginormous category that's had very little innovation for a long time. So I said, I'm going to come into this category with absolutely no experience in this industry before. And I'm going to try and build a really awesome brand that's about solving the plastic problem and delivering incredible products. And that's what we've been doing. So we kicked it off with a Kickstarter campaign, November 2019. I'd never done a Kickstarter campaign before, had no idea what I was doing. Reached out to a bunch of people that had been successful in that space, got a bunch of advice, read every bit of information I could on the internet. And we ended up pulling off the biggest Kickstarter campaign of 2019. We had about 7,000 households around Australia pre-order a box of our products, which gave us the first lot of cash we needed to go into production. So it's really been a kind of community built movement from day one, really.
Yeah. And for the audience, Kickstarter is a different type of crowdfunding. What we were talking at the start, the 6 million you raised October last year was equity crowdfunding. So the shareholders, the investors became shareholders, whereas Kickstarter is a pre-sales crowd fund. So you've got the confidence to buy the tooling, equipment you need for the factory to create the products, etc. I think one of the best examples of that and most successful, you're probably aware because they're up around Byron Bay, is the Flow Hive guys.
Correct, yeah.
I think they needed like 80 grand. They opened and a month later they had $12 million worth of pre-orders.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
And how old were you? So it was 2019. And how old were you when you decided to do this?
October 2019 was when we launched our Kickstarter campaign. So I was 35.
Yep. Great.
Yeah.
And were there any other competitors in Australia when you started?
No, there wasn't. It was interesting. There wasn't, when I started thinking about this and researching, there wasn't really anyone anywhere in the world talking about this mission and really building a brand around this mission.
Yep.
And fast forward 2.5 years, and it feels like every single day there's a new brand popping up somewhere around the world. There's a heap in Australia now.
Yeah.
Which is awesome to see that, this idea has caught fire and lots of people coming into the space. But at the time it was a completely novel idea. And look, we were very lucky in a lot of ways. I think luck plays such a massive role in any business success, but for us in particular, we launched our first ever Kickstarter campaign about 2 weeks after the War on Waste TV show finished airing in Australia.
Wow.
I don't know if you remember, but that was the highest rating TV show in Australia at the time.
Wow.
It had like 3 million viewers every week. And we literally launched 2 weeks after the final episode when Australia was talking about single-use plastic for the first time properly as a national discussion.
Yep.
And then we came along and said, hey, this is a massive problem in this category, 1 billion single-use plastic bottles every year in Australia in shampoo and conditioner and body lotion and those products. We're going to solve it. We need your help if you want to get behind it. And it was just, it was a perfect storm, I guess, for us to come along at that moment in time. And we've just kind of ridden that wave since then. I think COVID hit and people started shopping online. It was a pain for us to try and launch a business right in the middle of COVID, but it also gave us some extra, tailwind because people started shopping online, not going to the supermarket. So there's been a lot of hard work, but also a lot of lucky timing for us in our journey so far.
You have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth over the last almost 2.5 years?
Yeah, so it took us a year to get our product to market after the Kickstarter campaign. So we've only officially been, a real world live business for 18 months now, 19 months. We went from a team of 1, being me, to a team of about 25 we are today. We went from, $0 a month in sales to over $1 million a month in sales in that time frame. And most importantly, we have pulled 1.1 million water bottles worth of rubbish out of the ocean as a result of having about 60,000 households using our products.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so they're the metrics we track, is kind of mission impact, number of households, and then revenue, obviously.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
I have moments every day where I feel like I've succeeded, and I have moments every day where I feel like I've failed. I think that's the nature of fast growth startup world. It's been a really interesting journey for me personally. This is my third business. So I've been in the space for kind of 15 years, but my previous 2 businesses, existed in a world before, VC funds existed in Australia, before there were incubators and accelerator programs, before crowdfunding was really a thing.
Yep.
And so it was, building businesses the slow and hard way, or by yourself without any kind of guidance and with all of your own money. And also I was not the face of those businesses. I was very much in the background, just getting the work done.
Yep.
But this business, because it's so mission centric, I kind of felt like there needed to be a person at the front of this thing to rally the people and hopefully inspire people to join the mission. And so I've gone on this massive journey of becoming, a F- grade celebrity in the world, and putting myself out there into the public sphere, doing podcasts, going on TV, doing radio, being in ads and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Which at the start is it's an adrenaline kind of rush, right? When you get, your first request to go on a live TV show, it's a pretty awesome experience, right? As a founder. And then you get all the other stuff that comes along with that. And, the haters that come out of the woodwork and make up stories about you on the internet. So it's been a roller coaster of many successes and many failures so far.
You mentioned Cake Wines. What was the other business you had?
It was a surfing technology company called Hot Chip.
Right.
Essentially, we built a piece of wearable technology designed for surfers. It was, I guess, a precursor to what Fitbit has become.
Yep.
But specifically designed for surfers. It tracked your activity in the water, told you how many waves you caught, how fast each wave was, how many calories you burnt, and then it mapped all of that data over Google Maps. This was back in the days when technology was very, very young. It was probably 2005 or something like that.
Yep. Right. And what happened with that company?
Yeah, we ended up selling the rights to the technology to Billabong.
Right.
We did a global deal with those guys, and then the GFC hit just before we were about to launch that product. Whenever that was, 2008.
Yep.
And so the product, we did a launch of it at the Pipeline Masters in Hawaii, which was an epic moment for me. I was kind of 25 or something at the time, getting to hang out with my surfing idols, launching this piece of technology on the world scene. And then the GFC hit, and all projects globally at all the big surf brands just got canned. And so the project kind of fell over at the 11th hour, never actually went to market, never got rolled out into all of the store networks around the world. So that was a interesting first project that I ever did as an entrepreneur, I guess. Spunked my life savings at the time. Nearly, did a global deal with a big billion-dollar company, and then had the thing fall over for reasons totally outside of our control. So it was a massive learning curve about, luck and timing are so critical. There are so many things that happen in business that are completely outside of your control. And you just got to do what you can do. You got to control what you can control, and forget about everything else, because stuff just comes along.
And Cake Wines, just quickly, bit of background on that.
Cake Wines. Cake Wines was still exists, a kind of contemporary wine brand designed to get rid of some of the stuffiness around wine culture and invite a younger generation of people into what is a really beautiful world, but is often overcomplicated and a bit highbrow and snobby. So we built a brand called Cake Wines. We're making wines out of the Adelaide Hills and McLaren Vale, had a national distribution network, stocked in, the major retailers, opened Sydney's first ever winery, Cellar Door, had an epic space there. We kind of mashed culture and wine together, had talks and workshops and lectures and art exhibitions and film screenings and gigs. Built that business for about 6 years. I think we're doing about $4 million a year when I sold that business to a big Australian wine conglomerate. Packed up my bag and went on a trip. Took 2 years off.
Great.
And regrouped and came back refocused with a big mission to try and solve the plastic problem.
Yep. What does success look like to you?
In this business, success is the scale of the impact that we can have, right? That's the reason that I started this business. I didn't start this business to make money. I've chased that before. I've built businesses purely for, financial benefit. And whilst that is, can be an intoxicating ride, it gets pretty old pretty quick, I found, when your motivation is purely financial.
Yep.
So for me, this is about, this is I'm building my life's work here. This is my life's project, I guess. So first and foremost, success is how much plastic can we get out of the ocean? How much plastic can we stop being made in the first place and thrown in bins? And how many people can we inspire to join us on this journey? And I've said to every single investor that's come along this journey with me, there is no exit plan. And that's been designed by purpose. You know, often investors want to know, what are you doing in 3 years? Are you going to list it? Are you going to sell it? Is it going to be a trade acquisition, whatever? I've said very clearly from day one, there is no exit plan because the financials will take care of themselves if we focus on the mission. And so that's what we do every day. Focus on the mission, make amazing products, solve the problem.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast growing business?
Oh, there are so many things. One of the things that we have found to be a really powerful tool is this concept called radical transparency, right? Which we stole from Ray Dalio.
What an awesome book that is, Principles.
It's an amazing book, really amazing book. It's become one of our company cultures, company values. There's a big poster that we got printed and stuck on the wall in the office above where everyone sits. And you know, at the start of our journey, the concept of being radically transparent was really scary, right? Because it's not something that most companies do. And the more that we've challenged ourselves and pushed ourselves to be radically transparent, the bigger the response we get from the community. So that's things like, you know, publishing, you know, on the internet, exactly what our profit and loss looks like, what our unit economics look like, how much money we make on an individual product. You know, you can go to our website and we'll show you this is how much it costs us to do ocean cleanups. This is how much it costs us to make the liquids. This is how much it costs us to make the bottle. This is how much it costs us to ship it to you. And this is how much profit we make on every order that we ship to you. That's about as transparent as you can get. And not many companies do that kind of stuff, right? Whenever we make a mistake, we make lots of them because we're a fast growth startup. We have a mentality of move fast and break shit. We own up to it. You know, if you go onto our social feed, you'll see countless videos of me, you know, being vulnerable, hand on heart on sleeve, talking about things that we've messed up, things we've got wrong, things we need to get better at. And I think, you know, radical transparency for me is the silver bullet of our time, you know, where we live in this kind of post-truth greenwashing world. If you've got nothing to hide, you shouldn't hide anything at all. And so we lead with the mission and we lead with radical transparency from a marketing perspective every day. And it's the most powerful, most engaging kind of content that we ever produce.
Great. And you use Net Promoter Score. What's your number?
Yeah. So as of this morning, our NPS is, just give me 1 second, 76.83.
Wow, that is phenomenal. Anything over 50 is exceptional, but 70 in this mid to late 70s is amazing.
We've been, you know, in the high 70s to high 80s. Since we started tracking this metric, which was probably 12 months ago. Great. Which is pretty wild. They are kind of off the Richter scale. Numbers.
And for the audience that don't know about Net Promoter Score, it's not out of 100. It's a way that's calculated differently. But I think I've got a blog article on my website about it if anyone wants to understand it, or just look at the wiki article on it. I think it's a really great and simple measurement.
Totally. It looks at promoters, passives, and detractors, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And aggregates those three scores. So you ask your customers a bunch of questions, and over a certain score, they'll be aggregated.
As a promoter, they'll stop people in the street and talk about your business. Detractors are 0 to 6. So they'll stop people in the street, particularly if they're close to 0, and hate on your business
and slag you.
And then 7s and 8s are passives. A lot of people, just won't go above 8, for example. So they ignore those. But it's just one question. How likely are you to recommend us or to a friend or a colleague? And then whatever the percentage of detractors are, you take that off the percentage of promoters, and it's a number, either a positive or a negative number. So positive 76, 77 is amazing.
So we have, I'm just looking at the numbers now, 3% detractors, 17% passives, and the rest are promoters.
That's huge. Well done. And you said, before we started recording, I asked if you guys are thinking of becoming a B Corp. You said you had a different answer to this. Looking forward to hearing about it.
I get asked this all the time. People internally in the company, people externally. I've got nothing against B Corp. I think it's amazing. I think Yvonne Chenard is an absolute legend who's kind of been championing B Corps and 1% for the planet founder of Patagonia, for those who don't know. Yvonne wrote the most important book that I've ever read in my life, Let My People Go Surfing, is the grandfather of, or the godfather of mission-based businesses globally.
Yep.
Anything he does is amazing. For me personally, the challenging thing that I've seen with the B Corp movement is there are lots of companies who are responsible for producing a lot of single-use plastic, who are able to be certified as a B Corp. And
Right.
so there's a bit of a kind of dissonance there for me. You know, we can become a B Corp, but we could change our business model today and be making single-use plastic, and we could become a B Corp, which just seems a bit incongruous to me, you know, to be able to do that. So I think if there was, you know, if you were not able to produce single-use plastic in order to be a B Corp, then we'd probably register as a B Corp. But right now I feel like, at least on that one metric, our internal bar is much, much higher than that set by B Corp. Yeah,
got it. So how did you fund the business apart from the 6 million crowd fund? What kind of fund? How did you start with what funding?
Yeah, so I had about $100,000 cash in the bank when I got back from my trip after I sold my business and did a few things. And I said, right, I convinced my wife that I was going to put all the chips into the middle of the table, which is crazy, I know. But I think when you do gestures like that, it kind of makes you realize there is no failure is not an option, right? If you put burn all the boats, and you've just got to make it work. And so that's what I did. I put all my life savings into the business. I hired a couple of people and then got to work on that. That $100,000 didn't go very far.
No.
I realized pretty quickly when you got some staff and you're developing product from scratch and you're making prototypes and then doing molds and then, you know, building websites. So we started running out of cash pretty quickly, which was a nice humbling experience very early on in the journey to have a cash squeeze before it even existed. So basically we went and pitched the idea to every VC fund, every private equity house, every accelerator program, every incubator program, all the high net worth networks. And everyone said no, right? Every single person said no. I must have got 100 no's during that kind of first couple of month period. And then I met a guy called Rob Chapman, who's the ex-CEO of St. George Bank. Right. I got put in contact with Rob through a contact in the wine industry. Actually, Rob's from Adelaide and has some business interest in the wine game. I met Rob in Sydney one day, and I just kind of told him the story, told him where we're at, told him, you know, we'd had 100 no's and we just need our first yes. And then Rob said, "Can you fly to Adelaide next week and I'll put you in front of a room of people and we'll raise $1 million for you." And so he was the first true believer that came on board. One of his good friends and business colleagues, Raymond Spencer from Adelaide, became our largest shareholder off the back of that next meeting. We ended up, I think we raised just short of $1 million.
Great.
Off that first process. And then a couple of months later, we went to Kickstarter and did our Kickstarter campaign. I think we did another 750 grand in pre-order. So we, you know, from before we'd even launched and delivered a product, we had, you know, nearly $2 million in the bank, which enabled us to hire some people and really run at this thing quite quickly. Then the GFC hit and things got really, really wobbly. And we were planning on raising some more money, but not until after we started.
Sorry, you mean shipping. COVID hit.
Oh, sorry, COVID hit.
Wrong business.
Sorry, COVID hit. And yeah, we were planning on raising more money, but we were going to wait until we started shipping product and we could actually see real orders starting to flow through. But that didn't go according to plan. We ended up, our launch date was delayed by 6 months because of COVID. So we actually had to go and do a capital raising round in the middle of COVID, which people forget how hairy that little moment in time was. Everyone's wallets were clamped very tightly shut.
Everyone's shitting themselves.
That's right. But we managed to get a meeting with Skip Capital, which is the private investment arm of Scott Farquhar, founder of Atlassian. And so he and his wife, Kim, have set up a private equity business. And they came to the rescue essentially and wrote us a $2 million check, which got us through the back end of COVID and got us to market. And then the thing just accelerated really quickly once we started delivering product. I think we went from, on day one, we had 12,000 orders that we had to ship out
Holy shit.
We had pre-orders banking up after Kickstarter up until when we launched. So yeah, we were in a warehouse shipping out 12,000 boxes on, over the first 2 weeks of our business. And then it kind of scaled from there to about $1 million a month in sales within the first 12 months. And then we went and said, okay, let's take this community concept, this, people-powered solution to the next level. And we said, let's invite these people who have come with us on the journey, who backed our Kickstarter, who pre-ordered product, who've been the first earliest true believers. Let's give them an opportunity to own shares in our business and really become our business partners. And so we went out and said, okay, let's do an equity crowdfunding campaign. Again, I'd never done an equity crowdfunding campaign, had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I talked to some people that had some success. And then we launched in October of last year, and we ended up selling out a $5 million round in 6 hours. So $5 million is the legal limit you're allowed to raise in Australia in any 12-month period. And so we had about 15,000 people on our wait list who wanted to buy shares, and only 3,000 of them were able to purchase shares because it just went bananas, basically.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we were doing a private equity round, which was led by, led by the existing investors and Square Peg Capital. So we raised a further $8 million outside of the equity crowdfunding campaign. So it was a $13 million round in total, which is totally bonkers and more money than I've ever seen in my life. And it's still crazy to think we were able to raise that kind of amount of money for this mission, and that money's gone into hiring some more people for the team, expanding our product range. We will probably have 20 products live in the market by the end of the year, expanding our distribution footprint. So we want to be, in all of the major retailers around Australia, just, putting the foot on the floor basically and going hard after this.
Yep. Great. I think I know the answer to the next question. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into industry?
Yeah, I would. I think this is a really interesting industry in a lot of ways. It's owned by a couple of really big companies, right? Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Reckitt Benckiser, those kind of, Colgate Palmolive. There's probably 5, multi-billion-dollar behemoths in this industry, who, if we're honest, have just been trashing the planet for decades, willfully knowing that single-use plastic is a really bad thing, that recycling is not a thing. And I think people are now starting to recognize that there's just been this, absolute negligence on the part of those big companies, and startups are coming along and going, hey, there's a better way to do this stuff. We don't have to keep pumping single-use plastic into the planet. So it's an exciting time that our entire global personal care and cleaning category is rapidly changing. And that's a really positive thing for the planet.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Yeah. I would say that the most stressful moment was the depths of COVID. So we pre-sold about $750,000 worth of product to, complete strangers, people I did not know. And on the promise that we were going to get this product made and delivered to them in 6 months. And then, COVID hit, and in the space of 1 week, it went from our delivery lead times with our suppliers were 3 months, and then we'd get a call the next day and they were 16 months. It was just crazy. Like the whole global supply chain just fell apart. It was absolute mayhem. And we were having calls with people in Europe and people in Asia and people in the US, and, all hours of the day, all hours of the morning, stress levels through the roof. And there were multiple times when I thought the project was going to fall over before we were even able to deliver. And I just kept thinking to myself, how am I going to explain to all of these people that, well, what's happened basically? And that was where this radical transparency thing really sort of came to life, because I just started emailing these 7,000 strangers every week or every fortnight and saying, hey, this is exactly what is going on. This is all the shit we're dealing with. We're trying as best we can. We're going to just be completely honest with you and keep you updated as we go. And it actually became a massive success for us, because people just rallied around us as individuals, and realized we are just a bunch of people trying to solve a really big problem. And we're being honest about it. And we have, noble intentions, and we just got to do it and get through it. And it kind of rallied the community around us. So it was super stressful, but it also, built a really strong level of engagement and connection between us and what have now become my business partners. There's 3,000 of those people now own shares in this business with me.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
That's a really good question. I think for me, my previous businesses have never scaled to this size or scaled this quickly. So I've kind of been holding on for dear life as the roller coaster takes off. So I've had to upskill really quickly as a leader. I've never had to have a team of 25 people before. And if the thing continues to grow at the rate it does, it'll be 50 in the not too distant future. And so that's been a massive challenge for me, having to grow super, super quickly. And I recognize it's an ongoing growth trajectory, right? I'm still learning every day. I'm trying to ingest as much information as I can, surround myself with people who are better than me, have some great mentors and a board in place to help me learn and grow quickly. And just trying to stay, curious and inquisitive about how do I become a better leader and a better person along the journey so that I can help everyone else in our company be better leaders and better people.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
There's a lot of stress in a fast growth company. It is, I think a roller coaster is the best way to describe it, because there are moments of absolute highs, and we've had some really crazy highs where we've broken records and raised huge amounts of money and had incredible sales results and had huge impact on the planet. But the flip side to having big highs is you have big lows, right? And when things don't go according to plan, when products are delivered late, when there's faulty product, when you don't hit your sales targets, it is an absolute seesaw of emotion being in a fast growth company. And I think the other thing is, it's a double-edged sword to being so mission focused, right? On the one hand, it keeps you buoyant and fills you with a sense of purpose. But at the same time, it also gives you a huge sense of responsibility. And if things don't go according to plan, if you're not having the impact that you want to have, it can kind of be brutal. So I think it would be the ups and downs, the seesawing, the roller coaster of emotions is probably the most difficult thing of fast growth.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
For this business in particular, it's getting my hands dirty, and being involved in the cleanup activities. I went up to Gari, formerly known as Fraser Island, a couple of weeks ago. We've probably done 10 cleanups up there now. We took 20 of our customer shareholders on a trip up there for the weekend, and we pulled 1,200 kilos of rubbish off the beach in about 6 hours. It was unbelievable. It was like the dirtiest I've ever seen that stretch of the coast. But just to be able to spend 2.5, 3 days with a group of people that I hadn't met personally before then, because they came in through the equity crowdfund, and share the journey, share the experience, share the ups and downs of the Zero Code journey with them, and to see how engaged they were after them getting their hands dirty. And we've got a WhatsApp group that's set up now with those 20 people, and every day someone's out there doing something, whether it's organizing a local cleanup, whether it's talking to their council, whether it's getting our products stocked at their office, signing up their friends. It was really, really powerful to see real world community and the impact that you can have when people rally around the mission. So that's what excites me with this business, is being involved in the community, building a community that's trying to do something really positive for the planet.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
Biggest mindset shift. One of the things that's been really interesting for me as a result of doing this equity crowdfund is we went from a place before that where we only had kind of high net worth investors and VC funds who are very used to fast growth environments and understand that you got to go fast, you got to go hard, you got to burn cash to do that. Profitability is not the aim of the game initially. It's kind of market share. And so I'm very comfortable in those environments. But when you go to bringing in 3,000 everyday mum and dads, the mindset is very different. And it's been interesting seeing how much that has affected my mindset, going from a place of let's just burn cash quickly, grow really quickly, to now we need to balance that out with the sensibilities of being able to sit at the pub and have a yarn with someone who's given you $500 of their hard-earned life savings, and being able to justify that you're investing that money wisely and driving towards a profitable outcome at some point in the future. So that's been a massive change of mindset for me.
Number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
You've got to be customer focused. You've got to be relentlessly focused on the customer's needs. It's everything, right? Customer centricity. If you read any book about any successful entrepreneur who started essentially as a small business and scaled to be a big business, the customer has to be at the heart of everything you do. And for us, we talk about that as the community, right? The mission and the community. It's just got to be central to everything that you do.
Totally agree.
Be the change you want to see in your business. Become more productive and less stressed with our free Transform Your Performance online course. Once you see the benefits, put your entire team through the course at no cost. We start out by telling you the secret to guaranteed success, then over 100 lessons help you be more focused, present, productive, and feel more in control about work. growasmallbusiness.com.
Can you talk how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Yeah, it's really hard at the moment out there to hire. With COVID and borders being closed, it's been a really, really challenging hiring environment. I've never experienced such a difficult hiring climate. I think some of the things that I've learned over the last 18 months is, for us, leading with the mission is really powerful. And talking to potential candidates or the market about what the day-to-day reality of working at a mission-driven business is about. I think there are more and more people out there that are looking for fulfillment from work just outside of financial gain. They want to have impact. They want to have purpose. They want to get up every day knowing that they're coming to a place that is, having a meaningful, positive impact on the planet. And so we talk about the mission a lot in our hiring process. And because of that, we're able to probably pry some candidates away from higher paying gigs because of the importance of the work we're doing. So I think if you've got a mission, put it at the front. If you haven't got a mission, work out what your mission is, what your purpose is, and lead with that, lead with the why.
A lot of HR surveys over the last 2 or 3 decades particularly show that pay is about the 5th reason why someone works somewhere. So it's alignment to exactly what you said, the mission of the business. Not necessarily has to be an environmental angle or anything, but just if the mission resonates with them and their values, that's more powerful than paying them a shit ton of money.
Yeah, totally. Couldn't agree more.
What are some things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
I think culture, quote unquote, has become a bit of a sexy word in business circles these days. But maintaining and fostering culture is actually a lot harder than the textbooks or the papers make it sound. It's something you have to invest in every day. So we do a bunch of things here at ZeroCo to ensure that we have the culture that we want. So first of all, we've got a program called the Culture Awards. We have 5 company values that are all personified in posters on the wall in the office, and any day of the week, staff can nominate one another for a culture award for them living and breathing the values of the company. So radical transparency, for example, is one of those. When someone does something that's radically transparent, an award is given. At the end of every month, we tally up all the awards, and we have the $100 hero, which is a gesture of good faith, which shows you don't have to be a really profitable, huge earning company to be able to give people a pat on the back. So every month we give one person $100 to go and to pamper themselves, go get a massage, go out for dinner, whatever, based off who has lived the company values the best through that month. We have an internal book club which meets once a month. We've got a recommended reading list, and one staff member each month is tasked with reading a book and then doing a presentation on a Friday lunchtime. We go down to the pub and they present the learnings from those books to the team. That they're all focused around kind of business books, entrepreneurial books, stories. So there's a couple of things that we do. We have like structured programs that run, every day within the business to make sure that we are living, the values that we want to live.
Yep. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
If you ask my wife, very badly.
Does she work in the business too?
She does.
Yeah.
She does. It's hard. It's really hard. As a small business owner, you wear 20 hats, right? You're the hiring manager. You are the customer service chief. You are the product lead. You are the spokesperson. You are everything. You're the warehouse manager. And so it's really, really complicated managing or challenging to manage the complexities of small to medium business and have a life outside of that.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really easy to get lost in a rabbit hole and, focused on your business almost exclusively, right? To the detriment of other things in your life. It's something that I constantly am working on. I go and see a leadership coach once a fortnight, and it's always the first thing that she asks me: have I been surfing? Have I been going for a bushwalk? Have I been hanging out with my mates? It's really, really critical to maintaining your energy long term to make sure that you don't let work become everything.
Totally agree. Yeah, not just looking after your physical well-being, but also that mental side of things by having the time away, and also the social time with your mates. It's huge.
Yeah.
How much professional development have you invested in yourself?
Yeah, a fair bit. So I kind of mentioned that I've been going to a leadership coach on a fortnightly basis. So that's something that I started doing probably 6 months into this journey. And that was a function of me realizing pretty early on, pretty quickly, that I was woefully unqualified for the task at hand and for the scale journey that was ahead, but committed to being the best version of myself and being the best leader for the company. So I have a 2-hour session once a fortnight, and it's been amazing. It's been an incredible experience. Really hard. It's, forced me to look at myself and pull myself apart and look at all the shitty things that I do, the things I'm not great at, things I need to improve at. But it's been incredibly powerful.
And you mentioned mentors before. Any other comments on mentors or coaches?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely critical to have some people around you that are more experienced than you, older than you, different set of experiences. So we've been able to fill up our board with a whole bunch of amazing people who are all of those things.
Yep.
More experienced, more senior, different experiences to help guide and shape your thinking, right? Because you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
so having
dangerous,
super smart people around you to help guide your decision making, pull you back into line, pull your head in when it needs to be pulled in, rally around you when you're feeling down, lift you up when you need to be lifted up. It's super critical.
And so the board of directors, how often do you meet, and how many members are on the board?
So there's 6 of us. There's 6 directors of the company. We have 2 board observers. So there's 8 people that come to the meetings. We meet on a monthly basis. So I prepare a slide deck a couple of days in advance. It goes out, looks at the results for the month just gone. And then, we have a bunch of KPIs that we track and looking at initiatives into the future. So we formally meet. We just do digital meetings once a month, and then probably once a quarter we meet up in person, whether that be in Sydney or Melbourne, and have a full day kind of strategy session.
Do you have any independent directors on that board?
We don't, no.
Yeah, more shareholders. And someone chairs the board?
Yep.
And you're one of the few we've had on that's exited a business, or 2. Got any advice for the audience who are thinking about exiting, or one day will think about exiting their business?
Hold on to your seat.
Good advice.
My last business, the exit was a very windy road. We had a number of acquirers go all the way through due diligence. One of them is one of the largest wine companies in Australia. I won't name their name, but I'll never drink one of their wines again. Signed all of the paperwork and got up to the final meeting about to sign the check, and then pulled out of the deal. And so that's why I say hold on to your seat, because the deal isn't done until the money's in your bank account.
Other people have said that. Don't get too excited till the money's in the account.
Yeah, totally. I remember having to go and find a second seller after that seller fell through. And I'd already booked my trip to go overseas based off the first sale about to go through.
Yep.
And I remember having the final negotiation at Sydney Airport before I was about to jump on a flight and head overseas. And so I was in the middle of nowhere when the money finally came into my bank account. I didn't know about it for a month after till I got back into internet range. So,
wow. Jeez.
Yeah. hold on to your seat.
Yep. All right, Mike, we're on to our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Finding and retaining excellent people.
Yep. Absolutely. A players.
Yep.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
Let My People Go Surfing, Yvonne Chouinard.
Any great podcasts, online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
How I Built This with Guy Raz
Yep.
is a really awesome NPR podcast.
Yep. One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
One tool. Xero.
Yep.
The accounting package.
Package, not your product. Spelled
Not
different.
Xero. Well, you should get Xero Co for your small business, but Xero with an X.
Yeah, great software, isn't it?
Great software for small businesses for sure.
Finally, my favorite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Go hard, go fast, throw caution to the wind.
Yep. Great. Thanks very much for your time today. I think the audience will get a lot of value out of it. I really enjoyed it. We could have talked for another couple of hours, I think, when I'm in Byron, and we'll catch up for a beer. There's some great pubs up there.
Totally.
And congratulations on the success to date to you and your wife and the team. It's 25 team members now, starting out on your own, and $1 million a month, and a great crowdfund and a great mission that you guys are pushing forward. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Troy. Really appreciate it.
And for our audience, we would greatly appreciate a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. More reviews means we bubble up higher in iTunes, etc. So more business owners looking for podcast help with their growth will find us.